And we're live. Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I'm your co-host, Stratton Brown. Couple of housekeeping things. What the Deal Champs podcast is. Our mission at Deal Champs is to empower and inspire listeners by highlighting real-life deals. Every single thing that we highlight on here is a deal. Everybody we bring on, they're doing real deals from people across the nation. We also will be doing interviews of the top entrepreneurs and experts in our field. We aim to provide valuable insights and actionable tips and steps to help our audience achieve their own business and financial goals. And everything that we do, there is nothing that we do that is not on the internet. So like we 100% mean this. I'm your co-host, Strat Daddy. I own a company called Call Magicians. We wholesale a little bit and we own some self-storage. This is our other co-host, Mr. Captain America, Dean Rogers.
What's up, everybody? Dean Rogers here. Been investing for nearly a decade now. Have a rental portfolio of almost 10 million bucks at this point. Done over 500 deals and coach students as well on how they can get started in the business and how to scale it. So it's all about networking, connecting, and taking things to the next level. So,
and then we got the man with the best beard. His hair's not flopping today, but the best hair.
I was lazy today. Pritchard. I just threw the hat on, guys. I didn't want to show the hair off. Happy Valentine's Day, boys, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Yeah, shows how committed we are to this podcast, man. We're 5 o'clock prime time for Valentine's Day dinner. We're going live on Facebook. This is Jason Pritchard, your co-host, guys. I fix and flip wholesale. We take that money, buy rental properties. Our goal for myself and just the boys here on the podcast too is to try to help as many people as we possibly can to try to provide value through this podcast. So for those of you that are on, the people that are joining us live, we appreciate you guys, and hopefully you get something out of today's show.
And if you guys are listening on the podcast app, please go give us a 5-star review. If it brings you any value, share it with your friends. If you're on YouTube, go hit that like and subscribe button right there. And then don't forget to follow us on Instagram at StratDaddy, at Jason Pritchard, at Dean Rogers Real Estate. And then did we get everybody in our groups, get a bunch of people in here? Do you know?
You know, I can't find the add everyone. I'm sitting here clicking it around, and it doesn't seem to like it in the video. Maybe you got the magic touch for that.
Let me see this. Well, let's start off, guys. So today we're talking about the hardest moments in our business. And I think that is pretty big. Nobody really wants to talk about it. Nobody's really transparent. I listen to a lot of Andy Frisella. I'm trying to tune down because I feel like he can get you going really negatively, even though he has really good thoughts, because he always says it's so hard. But this shit is hard, and nobody really talks about it. Like, nobody talks about, like, in the other day in one of our companies, we lost 3 dudes, 3 of our best callers. One of them got held up at gunpoint in a taxi. They took all his money, and he, like, sat down over the weekends, like, you know what? I don't want to be in front of a computer all day. I'm doing something else. Right. And that, even though that doesn't sound huge, that's something that delays what we're trying to accomplish. And so I think it'll be awesome to hear like all of our hardest moments in business and how we got through them. Why don't we start with you, Mr. Great Beard, Mr. Amazing Hair, Jason Pritchard?
I think for everybody, guys, I have a few different stories I want to share. So I'll give you a few of them, but I think the message that I hope that everybody takes away from this show is that the hard times, in my experience, are never going to stop. I think as you continue to progress and as you reach new levels in this business, the problems actually only get bigger and more difficult to solve. So what I would tell you guys that are watching this, and if you're dealing with a hard time right now, I would start approaching the problem of like not asking for less problems, but how do I become a better real estate professional? How do I become a better business owner? How do I become a better person so that I can overcome these problems when we get there? Because the problems that you face when you're new are going to be different than the ones when you're a couple years in. They're going to be different than the ones when you're 7, 8 years in, like we are here. So you're always going to be dealing with issues. Would you guys say that that's been your experience too?
Yeah, no question. I'm just going to chime in real quick, and you can keep going on about other challenges you have. But like when you're first getting started, like the smallest things are big problems. They're like mountains, right? And every single day there's problems. And at least in real estate, the best opportunities are when there's problems, because if you're skilled at overcoming those, that's where you can put a deal together and create those win-win opportunities, right? Most of the properties we're buying are people dealing with issues, and our skills and expertise on how to fix those are ultimately what get us a good price, make the seller feel like they totally won, and creates the opportunity for us to make money from it.
I would agree. I'll piggyback off where you started, Dean, because I feel like there are problems that you deal with at the beginning that are just like everyday things for us now, right? And so one of the biggest challenges that I had, that I know a lot of newer investors are having, is just, where is this first deal going to come from, right? When I transitioned from corporate America, I was used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? So we're conditioned to trade my time, and every 2 weeks I would get a paycheck, and it was just that process over and over and over again. And what we have to realize when we become real estate investors or full-time real estate professionals is that you don't get paid for your time in this business. You get paid for learning how to produce a result. And you may not see any money like I did for the first, 9-10 months. I worked almost a full year of working every single day. I quit my job and I worked every day for 10 months before I ever saw any money for a deal. So that was my biggest challenge as a new investor, was just holding out for a long enough period to actually like monetize that first deal. And there were so many times, guys, where I wanted to give up. There were so many times where I almost just threw in the towel. And I see that with so many people where they just can't hang on long enough, and they eventually just quit and they go back to what they were doing. And that's usually the make or break between a lot of people is just their willingness to hang on until they can get that first deal under their belt.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why it takes that first deal so long is because of the fact that we already talked about, you don't have the skills yet and know how to problem solve and overcome those hurdles. And two, I think this is, maybe not spoken enough about enough, is people underestimate the level of effort you have to put in. Like you think you're doing a lot of work. You think you're doing busy stuff. You think you're putting in the time and the effort, but you're just like messing around. You're playing around with stuff on your desk. Like you're playing around with your email, trying to get it all set up. Like you're not doing anything that's actually going to move you forward and move the needle to getting the deals and creating that consistent business. So problem solving is without question the skill gap when you're first starting. And it's our ability to navigate those now that are giving us those big paydays. Like problems, sure, bring them on. Like we'll just knock those out of the way and just keep taking them down. So, but yeah, underestimating the level of effort without question is another area that people underestimate.
I think fastest way, sorry, Strat, let me just add this really quick. I think the fastest way to shortcut this, especially for new investors, is you have to find somebody that's been there and done that and use them to help bridge that gap really quickly. Because the problems that you're having at the beginning, guys, they're actually usually really easy to solve. They're not these big insurmountable things that I think we make them out to be, right? And if you can get connected with either a strong accountability group or a mentor or a coach, I think you are paying for speed at that point. You're basically paying for when Jason took 30 days to figure out a problem at the beginning because I was just trying to go on the internet and go on Google and go on YouTube. I can pick up the phone and call Dean, or I can call one of my friends and say, hey, here's where I'm at. What would you do here? And Dean can message me in 5 seconds and say, no, do X, Y, and Z. And as long as you do that, that's probably going to solve your problem. So one of the easiest ways to solve these big problems at the beginning, guys, is get around people that can shortcut the problem based off of their prior experience.
Well, and the biggest thing that mentor or coach is going to do to you is allow you to know what is the right work, right? You can think you're busy, you can think you're doing shit, but still to this day, the only shit that makes any of us money is talking to people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, especially with our personality types, the biggest thing is relationships and closing deals, right? We brought on a new partner in one of our companies, but that still was the highest and best use of that time for me. And when I've been in a slump, I can generally trace it back to who was I talking to 3 months ago? Like how many people was I actually having a conversation with to get that ball rolling, right? So our self-storage stuff, we're going to buy one. We want to buy 70,000 square feet by the end of the quarter. And then we can go back because we were so consumed with getting this other deal closed. We weren't following up with the rest of them. And then we call 2 different people, and one of them sold it on a note, 2 different deals. Another one sold one at like 65%. And that slump goes back to where we following up with those people. And generally we can trace it back to the metrics that or the effort that we were putting in. And like Jason said, the majority of what we do takes a significantly more amount of effort than we originally believe. Like Grant Cardone's 10X rule is an amazing book because that's how you really should think about everything. And if you go into it saying, hey, this is going to suck balls, I have to really grind, then you'll go into it with a better frame. Or like how we say, hey, if you commit to it for a year, you'll be fine. To where it might happen in 3 months, might happen in 6 months, it might happen in 9. But if you go into it with that mindset, things will go a lot better for you.
Yeah.
I saw somebody jump in the comments saying that's me. I could never really get good deal flow going. What would you guys, that's a big problem I think most people kind of struggle with at the beginning. What do you guys think is a good way to get past that problem of that inconsistency with deal flow, right? Because I know a lot of times you're riding high, you close that first deal, your emotions are through the charts, you're like up here on the roller coaster ride, you put all your effort and energy into getting that thing across the finish line, and then you do exactly what Stratton said, you lose focus on the things that actually got you the deal in the first place. And then after that deal closes, you realize like, shoot, I haven't been making my calls. I haven't been doing this. I haven't been doing that. Right. So I know that that's a big issue for a lot of new investors for sure.
Yeah. I think people go through it when they're just getting started, but people even a couple years into it, like experience, find those ruts and those slumps too. And for me, it has always come back to me staying consistent with my efforts on marketing.
Yep.
Like this business in real estate, at least if you're wholesaling, is marketing and sales, just flat out marketing and sales. When you get into flipping, when you get into buying and holding, you got to develop some additional skill sets and work with some additional people. But at the end of the day, you're in marketing and sales. And I think people forget the marketing side because they're busy chasing people around. They're busy trying to close that one deal. Or they just haven't gotten their skills to the point to where they can close the opportunities that are in front of them. Right. And so I think when it comes to the marketing, depending upon where you're at budget wise, like, dude, there's so many deals to be had in the free hustle category. So many deals. Like if you start going down the list of driving for dollars, networking with realtors, networking with wholesalers, going to meetups, door knocking, doing all the for sale by owner, even the MLS. Like if you're just hustling enough and putting in enough effort, you will get a deal or deals from doing that. But depending upon what marketing strategy you're doing, you just might have to put more effort. Whereas opposed to if you're doing paid marketing, some of those strategies, it's a pay to play and there's less people in the space. So you might get higher quality, more motivated sellers. And now it takes less leads to close a deal and a little bit less effort, but you need to be more skilled to take advantage of those deals because usually there's more problems with them. So I think just going back to the core issue of deal flow, you might just not be putting in enough effort, especially if you're doing the free hustle activities. Like you need more effort. You need to measure down to the basic stuff of how many people am I talking to? Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this at our last meetup, our last big meetup when Pace and Jamil and Henry Washington were there. And Jamil had just posted that week that you got to be talking to 30 people a day. You got to be making 10 offers. And if you think about that, like thinking about my own business, to make 10 offers in a day, you got to talk to a lot of people. Like that's not easy. It is not easy at all. So if you really start thinking about it, the only way I'm getting deals is if I make offers. The only way I'm making offers is if I have leads, people who are interested in selling. I got to talk to a lot of people. And you got to start with that simple of a concept and then start to reverse engineer. Well, how can I get in front of people that are interested in selling? Is it the driving for dollars? Is it the door knocking? Is it for sale by owner? Is it other realtors who have clients themselves? Like, how can I talk to as many people as possible, as quick as possible, so that I can potentially get a deal, and then that can fund me doing some paid marketing? Because ultimately, what created the consistency in my business after I did those free hustle strategies was paying for marketing to have my phone ring and doing that nonstop.
Well, you got to reinvest. And I think that's one thing a lot of people lose out on is you have to reinvest in either yourself, in the marketing, or in the systems. We have to
or people.
Or people.
Somebody else. Yeah. I think that's the natural
people.
progression. Yeah. I mean, for me, the natural progression was doing what Dean was talking about. Because and I know a lot, you guys are the same, right? Like we can work, like if you want to, we can just go. So the work ethic for us was never a problem. If we need to work however long, however many calls, it doesn't matter. Right. So I see people that have that type of approach find a lot of success early. And I think what separates them from just being like a one man or a one woman army is really kind of, this is the natural progression of most real estate investors. If they want to break through and then have a business, it's how do they take the skills that are in them and then transfer them to somebody else? Because we all know that we get to a point where even if you have a motor that's off the charts and you can work 10 or 12 hours a day, there's just going to be so many things going on. When you've got 3, 4, 5 deals all happening at the same time, especially if you're fixing and flipping, but even if you're wholesaling, the transaction management, managing the buyers, all that stuff,
there's a ceiling.
You can't just focus all your energy over here on sales and acquisition and lead gen. So I think the next big problem that people have is getting past the limiting beliefs of not just paying for the marketing, but now I'm making money, but now I got to go take this money and I got to pay somebody else. Yeah.
You're investing into those
that person. Yeah. And I think that was something that I struggled with for a long time. I was probably a one-man army for 3 years, maybe longer than that, dude, before I hired a full-time person. And I was like, I was just burning myself too ragged. I was burning the candle at both ends, man. It was crazy.
Oh, bro, investing into those people is huge. And like even if it's just a VA, guys, a VA will change your life. Like if you have the money and runway to pay that person, bro, every employee we have is a VA, and I don't know what we do without them. And yeah, we'll call them a VA or a virtual assistant. I mean, they're all over the world, but investing in them gives me a better return more times than not than a lot of other things. Like I could go buy a lot of real estate deals, but the reason most of us make money is because we have a business that makes us cash. You take that cash and you place that into real estate. Right? That's what Dean does. That's what Jason does. That's what we do, or we invest it back into our business. So if you're investing those people and you can actually lead those people, that's another thing nobody really talks about. You actually got to be able to lead the team. Me and Dean lucked out because we played a lot of sports. Jason was a sales leader for a long time. We got to lead those people.
That's a whole nother skill, man.
That is a whole nother skill. And you got to invest in yourself to learn how to lead if you haven't got there, because not everybody gets to go through what we went through to actually get there, to have a little bit of a base to know just how to lead people.
Yeah.
And then
so I think this next comment is really interesting. So I'm assuming it's the same person. I make money, try to start marketing, burn the money off. Then I find another one, but never really find a good groove for consistent flow. I think that's going to be a story for a lot of people, man. I think they're going to be trying the marketing. It's not going to quite pan out or work out. They're going to burn through that budget. And then it's like they're back to square one. I think it's a tough thing. I mean, marketing is a competitive space, depending upon what market you're in. It's pretty competitive these days because there's so much information out there. There's a lot more companies that are up and readily available to provide service to you to market, right? With all the different cold calling companies, the texting companies, the pay-per-click on Google Ads companies, creating websites for you. Like there's so many different strategies that other service providers are providing and helping you through that. So I'd say competition continues to get tough, but at the same time, like this business, since from when I first got started, there's always new people coming in. There's always competition, but most people fall off. Most people just give up. And then there's a new person that comes in, competes with you a little bit, and they fall off. It's just about your ability to stay consistent. And I think what can help you ride through those times when marketing's not working out, because I've been there, is it can't be just your one thing you're doing. You shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket. You should have multiple fishing poles out there. But I will say this, and this is what I learned from Sean Terry when I first got started. You should maximize one marketing channel out. Like let's say it's direct mail, okay? Or cold calling or text. You should max that out. You should get so damn good at it that you're either crushing at it or you've gotten everything you can get out of it until you move on to the next thing. If you're trying texting for a month, didn't really quite get a deal, and then you're trying cold calling, and then you're trying these different strategies, you're not getting traction because you haven't developed the skills, to learn what really works for you. Because person A might be doing exactly this one blueprint, but person B, they need to make some adjustments for themselves and the way that they are and where their skill sets are. So I think you've got to really max out that marketing channel and get so good at it that you're getting traction and getting results. And then you can start to spend money on other marketing channels. But there's the asterisk next to it. Whatever paid marketing strategy you're doing, don't stop the free hustle ones. You need to have multiple lines out there. So if you're going heavy into networking, talking to other wholesalers, like I have found that when I'm spending money on marketing, I'm getting leads, but I might get a deal from something else my efforts are in. So even though I should still consistently spend money on that marketing, I might get a deal that materializes somewhere else. And I think it's just that effort, that energy that I'm putting out of attracting deals, that the universe is rewarding me in one way. And it might be a free lead source. I'm spending marketing over here and I'm getting it from a free lead source, but I'm not going to just shut off that paid marketing channel if it's producing good quality leads. But obviously you got to look at your KPIs. If you got all shit leads, like you got to make a decision at some point. But that's my experience for this particular person. Is maybe the situation is that maybe you weren't either maxing it out, or maybe you weren't putting your efforts still in other areas to keep that momentum and traction.
One of the things that I see to address this issue that the guy that made the comment made is, I see this all the time with new investors. And the analogy that I use is this: lead flow and deal flow is not just like a faucet where you turn the faucet on and the water comes out. Okay. Here's the analogy that I like to use. It's a well, and it's a well where you have to pump it by hand, and all of the action is happening below the surface. So you don't know whether that water is 500 feet from the surface or 5 feet from the surface. But what I can guarantee you is that if you just don't stop cranking that well, like Dean said, we stay consistent with our actions, we stay consistent with our marketing spend, and we just show up every single day and do it, it's inevitable that you're eventually going to get the outcome that you want. But what most people do is they hear a podcast like this, or they come to one of our events and they get really excited and they just come out of the gate at a pace that's not sustainable. And they just start cranking the well so furiously that there's no way they're going to be able to keep it up for a sustained pace. So the water comes up and they're making progress, but then they burn themselves out. And then every single time you guys stop, the water goes all the way back down to the bottom. And then they go to another well, right? And they said, okay, mail didn't work. Let me try this cold calling. And it's the same thing over, and they just bounce over and over and over again. And if you would just stay in that one original marketing channel, that one line that Dean was talking about, and you just stay true to that line, eventually it will happen. And then this is what I'll layer on top of that. You have to treat it like a business, guys. So you have to have a projection for how much money are you going to spend on this marketing channel.
That's
right. So don't go into a marketing channel like direct mail. That's one of the more expensive ones to start with, where you actually usually get less leads coming in, right? They may be higher quality, but the number of leads is not going to be great. I don't recommend starting that way because you need to talk to a lot of people. You need a lot of reps. And if you only have a $5,000 budget, that's not going to last you very long in direct mail, right? So take a look at, okay, here's how much money that I can actually invest in marketing. This is how much runway I have if I'm going to spend that on cold calling, right? And give yourselves, I'd say, at least 6 months worth of runway. So then that way you have an actual chance to go through and really give yourself an opportunity to close one of these deals. Because we all know the people that we talk to today, those deals are not going to generate revenue if we're lucky, on average 3 months down the road. I mean, if we're lucky, probably longer than that. Right? Even if you talk to somebody right now and they sign tomorrow, realistically, you're 30 days out before you see money. You know what I mean? So, you know, you can't just you can't just blow all your money in the first 2 months, guys, and then expect to be rolling in deals. It just doesn't work like that. So you've really got to project some of this stuff out, and then also practice a lot of patience.
One thing that I fucked up on at the beginning was not budgeting. Right. And so, like, I see what you're saying to where I'd go and I'd just like, all right, bro, we're going balls to the wall on marketing. Just like Jason said, I'd spend all of it on marketing. Like month one, it's like, bro, we're going to hit a home run. But then after that, now you got to go back to the hustle stuff. And then you have no paid marketing because like you just blew your whole load. So I think it is a very, very fine mixture, like what Dino said, bro. Continue doing your free stuff, continue scraping however you can, and then spread it out over 6 months. Like whenever we talk to people at Call Magicians, we ask them, how much money do you have that you can spend for 6 months realistically on marketing? If you cannot do it for 6 months, then we generally don't want to work with you because you're going to cut it off. It's going to suck. You're going to panic. Right. And I hate being in the crazy financial situations, right? It's always good to have like your back against the wall a little bit, but being in the crazy financial situations is never fun. So like, you're really like, all right, bro, we got to go kill something. If we don't kill something, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a balance between like operating under pressure and then like becoming desperate. And I think running your account down to the red line every single month is not a good place to be, especially at the beginning.
Quick shout out for people that are commenting in this live stream. Love the engagement, love the support. Make sure you guys go to this link, streamyard.com/Facebook, so we can see your face. Show us your face. We just says Facebook user. So if you guys go to streamyard.com/Facebook, it'll show who you are. We love the engagement, want to keep the conversation go with you guys. So make sure you go to that link, click the button, and then it will sync up and you'll be all good.
What's going on, Carlos?
What's up, bro?
He probably put an emoji in there. I don't think it shows emojis on the live stream, which is too bad.
It does.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I guess sometimes it does.
I think we need to talk about how ruts still come though. And like people think that like we are just rolling to where, bro, the second half of 2022 sucked balls for me on the wholesale side and on the Call Magician side because all the wholesalers went broke. And so like it was a rut. And so how did we get out of that? One thing I got from one of my mentors is he was like, bro, if I ever lose money, I will go out and I will spend more money because I want to create more momentum in my life. Right? It sounds a little bit different, but he's like, I want to create more energy. So I apply the same thing. Like, okay, we just had a loss. What can I do to just pick up the energy and add more momentum? How can I go bring on another investor? How can we just go close another deal? How can I talk to someone else? A lot of times that is going and spending money on something else. If you have it, hey, you know what? It feels good if you just go buy another list. Like, hey, we just went and bought 10 more leads if you're just getting going. And we're still going to keep pushing. Right. But that has been massive for me. And like to get out of that, bro, it was just being on the phone more. I was all right. Yep. Who can we talk to? Who's going to bring us more business?
I agree with that. I think it comes from a place of when you start losing money, you start to become scarce. And it's easy to preach abundance when money is abundant and all these things are happening, right? But then, like you said, the last 6 months, deals starting to tighten up, everything started to become scarce. So I believe your mentor's advice comes from a space of coming from true abundance, right? Where it's like, even in times of scarcity, not only am I telling myself that I can be abundant and this stuff is there, but I'm also going to prove it with my actions, right? And my actions are going to follow up. I'm going to reinvest into something in my business, right? To generate more business and not to be afraid to pull the trigger on that. So I think that's good advice. You have to be careful with that when you're new, but I agree. I agree. That's good advice for sure.
Yeah. I'll give a real life example. So in the month of December, we had only 2 deals close and they weren't big deals. And usually we're used to having like 8 to 10 deals close in a month. But we had only 2 deals closed, but we still had all of our payroll. We still had all of our marketing spend. We still had all the bonuses from the prior month that we had a great month on. So people were getting paid out some big paydays. I lost $60,000, net $60,000 out of the pocket. And by the way, my partner and I, we also paid ourselves a big end of the year salary, lump sum salary, so we could get taxed on that, get a W-2, all that stuff. So there was $160,000 that were poof out of the bank, gone in the month of December. That doesn't feel good. Like no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, it doesn't feel good to have an L ever at any point in time. But did I shy away? Did I back off or anything like that when I saw, getting deal flow was a little tougher? No. In fact, we came out the gates firing in January and February. We got 15 deals under contract in January. 2 of them fell out because of some complicated issues. Not because we couldn't perform, but so we have 13 deals under contract. We have deals closing right now. We had one close today, $55,000 net profit deal. We had one close yesterday, $30,000 net profit deal, dollar deal. What else do we have? We've got a handful of other deals. We got $100,000 deal, net profit deal that should be closing in the next 2 to 3 days for the end of this week. That's also a wholesale deal. So like we're coming out swinging, we're coming out crushing, killing deals and having a good January, a good February. But it's hard. Like you get in those moments where you take some L's and your back's against the wall, like you said, and it's a human reaction to like feel a little bit scared, but you have to go back to your mindset and like really work on that. Like I can do this. I've done it over and over again. And I got to get around other people who are going to motivate me and got my back, who are going to help me talk through this, help me really think about how to solve the problem rather than focus on the issues, right? If you got that abundance mindset, you're going to attract those deals towards you. And if you're thinking and feeling scared, you're going to push them away. Like people can feel that energy. The universe can feel that energy. So I had to personally remind myself, dude, you close deals every single month on repeat. Like you got this. And kept the team motivated, kept the team focused, kept the marketing going. And you bet your ass we came swinging in January, and February's hitting hard too. So, but it's tough, man. It's tough when you get in those spots and you feel like there's a potential slump. Like, am I doing something wrong? Like you kind of have to work through those moments.
We had a similar experience towards the end of the year. December was very similar to us. We took a loss on a couple flips that we sold, right, which is never nice. Similar thing, we had a couple other ones close. And so our overhead runs, this is payroll, bonus, everything, somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 for marketing and all of that stuff every single month. So it's never nice to look at the end and see like a month where you're in the red. That's just not a good feeling as a business owner, right? And so I think what we've got to do is zoom out and realize, hey, we did 60 plus deals this year. We had 4 or 5 that were not profitable, which means we had 55 that we were very profitable on, and we did make good money. And I do have this track record of closing, and I've been in this business longer than I've ever held a regular job before in my life, right? And we have to be okay with giving ourselves a little pep talk sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I think for guys like us, we can rely off of past experience, right? We can say, hey, we've got this track record. So operating from a place of faith and certainty, I think may be easier for us because we can dip into our own previous experience. If you're new, guys, and you haven't done this before and you don't have a track record of consistent success, I really feel that mindset, your self-improvement work, and being around other people that are wired the same way that you are, those are the ways that you get past these things, guys. Because if you just start letting that little voice in your head get out of control, you'll get off the rails so quickly at the beginning. I think guys like us, we have our stuff dialed into the point where we can reel it in on our own. But at the beginning, when you haven't proven this to yourself, it can be a lot harder. So in times like this, where business is down, the narrative on social media and the news is all negative, everything you hear is negative, negative, negative. And then you're starting to see some of that negativity actually happen in your life and business. You've got to pull that out at the root really quickly. Otherwise,
that's a really good point.
Otherwise,
you can see that shit bare. Tiger Woods is a perfect example.
Dude. Yeah. Like even for people like us, dude, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm perfect. I know we all have these moments where it's like, damn, dude, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is the difference for like guys like us that have business, we have to transfer that to our team. Because imagine if we're feeling like that,
faith.
Your team is like, damn, dude, like what's going on? You know what I mean? And they may not have as strong of a mindset as we've developed. So not only do we have to keep it together for us, but we've got to learn how to transfer that energy to everybody on our team and make sure that they can pick up on that too. And so, now, this month has been crazy. All of the stuff that's been sitting has gotten offers. Our deal flow jumped back up to where we've been expecting and what we've always been doing, right? And so it's just kind of getting through some of these weird seasons that you're going to have in your life and in your business.
Yeah, I think this is a
Exactly.
good point right here. I think intentionally deciding what your core values are in your business, powerful, helpful, especially in tougher times. They can serve as a great reminder of what's important. Keep your mindset right. This has been really big for your team. Whoever made this comment, make sure to go to streamyard.com/Facebook so we can see who it is. That's a great comment and a great point. And shout out to Pat Hilton. What's up, Patrick? Let's go,
Shout out
champs.
the man.
What's up, Pat? So guys,
For
is there any specific moments? I know we don't have too much more time to go through kind of our story, but like, do you guys have any specific moments in your business where it was like a really big slump and you were like, gosh damn, like, how am I going to overcome this? This is heavy. Like, this is so heavy that I don't know if I'm going to overcome this. Have you guys gone through any of that?
COVID was really scary for me. I remember COVID. I remember really being not, I mean, it wasn't just the business, but life was just weird. You know what I mean? Like life getting shut down and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
can remember thinking like, damn, dude, like everything's closed. My wife's job as a counselor, they closed the schools down. Recorder's office is closed. Title company is closed. Like, is anybody going to let us like transact business? Is anybody going to let us sell a house? I think there was like 30 days. I know Stratton, you and I have talked about this where it was just like, what's going to happen, dude? You know what I mean? And we still push through that. So that's what I was saying about the beginning. It's like, that wasn't that long ago. So I can actually mentally put myself back in that space. And I could be like, well, hey, if we were able to push through like the whole world being shut down and not being able to do anything, like, shouldn't we be able to get through rising interest rates? I mean, I think we should, you know what I mean? Like this seemed like much harder and a much bigger problem to solve on the surface level. So get it together and let's figure it out, dude. You know what I mean? And let's just keep it moving forward. So that was a big one for me. I feel like.
Bro, at the beginning, bro, like when at a point when means, like real bananas and rice, and then without Kalani, bro, we wouldn't even have fucking baby food.
I love
That
your story, dude.
That shit was wild. And I mean, how did we get? It sounds dumb, but like you really got to have some blind faith, and you really have to commit too. It's like I am committed to doing this for however long it takes to get the desired result that I want.
Got to have that
And then
mindset, man.
You are still committed to, even if this whole shit burns fucking down, nothing changes because I have the skills that I need in order to build it back up again and then keep going. And if you look at it, I mean, there's plenty of other people. I'm really big in like the tech space as far as studying all those founders because those are the richest people in the world, right? Some of these dudes are 3 startups deep to where 3 of them failed. Then they start a new one. Then they hit a billy, right? And then they're struggling. When you're doing a startup, you're not making any money, right? And so I'd say at the beginning was by far the hardest time. I wouldn't have made it without Kalani and like having an actual support system. And then books as far as like those mentors. And that's when I got really big into Bob Proctor, bro. Even now, when I'm in a slump, I'm listening to like Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, Napoleon Hill. You would be amazed at how much work that'll do to you internally as you're just putting that into yourself all day.
Yeah.
And so that is huge. Like even now, I'll have a bad day, bro. And I will throw on Mr. Bob, who is my personal prophet. Because like, man, you're in a slump. You're thinking the wrong way. And that's really how I got through it, bro. I remember walking around, driving around, going to knocking doors and playing Bob Proctor, You Were Born Rich, just so I would think the right way. Because as that continues going, if we keep telling ourselves like, oh, this storm's going to kill us. Hey, I'm going to freeze to death. All these things are going to happen. Then it's going to happen. But you still got to have that mental fortitude of this is what I'm committed to. And this is what is going to work no matter what. And for me, I guess I was lucky because I had no other life skills. And so I couldn't go do anything else. But that's kind of the way you got to approach it, dude. That's how I got through it.
You got to be so committed mentally of the fact that you're going to be successful and be okay with the fact that you're going to suck. You're going to have obstacles you're going to have to overcome. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have failures. But like, and those are things you learn to deal with and overcome. But like, you got to be so committed to working through that to where like your body physically changes. Like you've heard, I just heard a great quote, like, be careful what you tell yourself because your body's listening, your mind's listening, right?
100%.
Like every fiber of your body has a physical reaction depending upon your mindset, what you're thinking. If you're thinking sad, you're depressed, your body feels down. it doesn't react the same way. If you're excited, if you're motivated, if you're inspired, like your body's tingling, you're like fired up, like you could run through a wall, and that your body is literally reacting to what you're thinking. So if you can work on what you're thinking, I love what you said right there. It was like powerful to me. You listened to Bob Proctor. It's Bob Proctor, right?
Yeah, like I am a massive Bob Proctor
You
fan. I almost cried
listened
when
to
he died.
Bob Proctor to believe that you were rich, like born rich. Like, this is who I am. I am rich, right?
You have
and
to
although you
reprogram so
weren't,
much stuff, bro.
yeah, you got to program it. So, yeah, your body is listening. Man, when you think about that, it is so powerful, and your body. Crazy.
I love that. I could talk about this stuff forever. So for me, the biggest issue for most people is that they want the million before they feel rich.
Yes.
And the secret is you have to feel like you're rich before the million shows up, guys.
Which is hard.
That's how it works.
It's hard.
It is, especially at the beginning when you don't have the $1 million, dude. You know what I mean? It becomes easier once you prove concept. But law of attraction has been proven to me to work over. I don't need any more proof in my life that it works, guys. And it starts with creating this sense that you already have it before it's actually there. And that to me is the true definition of like operating from a place of 100% faith and certainty. If I don't have proof in the physical world that it's there, but I believe it, I think about it, I feel it, and all my actions are leading towards it every single day, that's how manifestation works for me, man.
And you gotta vibrate differently, bro.
Yeah.
You really feel different.
Yeah.
You feel different. And I do think you need to have those goals written down too. Because now you wake up every day, like the whole Grant Cardone writing your goals down every day. It's because now you're pushing towards something every day and you know what you're doing. And all of your actions are based on that. Like, hey, I'm gonna do 10 deals this year. If you write that down every day and every night, that is the only thing you are truly thinking about. Like Bob Proctor's like, hey, do you have your goal card in your pocket? And I got this from Alan, Jason. I think Alan still carries around on a index card what his goals are.
Yeah.
And that way,
all of that stuff is Napoleon Hill in all of his books and material calls it conscious autosuggestion. So you're auto-suggesting all of these things, right? So the habit of writing it down, you're planting this suggestion into your brain that I want to do 10 deals this year. I'm going to do 10, not I want to, I'm going to do 10 deals this year, right? Everything comes from a place of I am, or I've already completed it, right? And when you can get good at that and you can realize the way that you say things, the way that you write things down, the verbiage that you use every day, all of those things dictate what we're talking about, your energy level and whether you're vibing high or you're vibing low. And you can get really good and become self-aware of those things all the time. That's when things start to happen really fast. And at the beginning, you're programmed the complete opposite of what we're talking about, right? And so there's going to be work at the beginning to kind of retrain and rewire all of this stuff. So
I'd end with this. So before we end the topic here, I love what you said about vibration, Stratton, which if I'm around you, Jason, and you, Stratton, like I can feel the vibration. Like I can feel the energy. It's a powerful energy. And
there's an energy transfer, bro. There is like an actual energy transfer that happens, dude. Yeah.
And you can feel the opposite. If there's like a weak, depressed energy, like it sucks from you and you feel worse about it. So you want to, the hack, if you are not feeling rich yet, or you aren't rich yet, and your mindset isn't there, get around other people that are. That's the since the beginning of time hack. And we'll say it till our face turns blue. And that's why we started the podcast. We want to get around more people. We want to connect with more people because we've already figured this out. The trick is get around more people, connect with more people that have that energy, who are looking to level up. So I love this topic. And I think we've all learned great lessons and have had to figure out how to overcome them. So transition here, guys.
First, before we transition.
Okay, what comments we got?
Well, we got Ian's. I always want to acknowledge Ian. Bro, we got to acknowledge Pat's. Bro, if you ain't down with Mean Dean and Strat Daddy, you ain't down with nothing. Morgan made it. I didn't realize you couldn't see my name. I think that's your Morgan.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yep, the core values comment. Definitely.
Then we got a Strat Daddy. Deep Dean Rogers. Deep Dino.
Deep.
And then very true. Thank you for keeping it real, guys. That's one thing that like I try and be transparent. I feel like we all are, because it can look like it's all sunshine and rainbows, but like, and I'll end on this. Sorry, Dino. When me and Jason were driving home, and he was sharing the shit that was going on, I was sharing the shit that was going on. He was like, "Bro, this shit never stops. This shit just never fucking stops."
Never.
Like, and as we keep growing and going for bigger and bigger things, bro, I cannot be ready for $1 billion if I cannot handle my problems now.
That's right.
If I cannot handle my problems now, the universe or God or whoever it is will not give me what I'm asking for. You have to prove to yourself and to the universe that you're even worthy of handling the problems that are to come.
That's a question I love to ask myself when I'm feeling stuck or I'm just feeling like not like myself. If I can't handle this, how am I ever going to accomplish all of the things that I've written down on my goal sheet, right? And that's a great, I mean, it's just such a great way to push. You have to learn how to push your own internal buttons, right? And what maybe can charge me up and gets me excited might be a little bit different than Dean, or might be a little bit different than Stratton, but you've got to figure out ways to push yourself internally. And for whatever reason, that same question resonates with me. And it's like, what am I sitting here complaining about, dude? Somebody's already figured this out. It's not that big of a deal. You'll figure it out eventually. Today might not be the day that you're going to actually crack this thing, but you'll get there eventually. So that's it. Let's go, man. Yep.
I love that. You got me excited. I gotta throw another comment out there. Like, as I'm doing squats today, throwing up 335 on squat, not what I used to be at, but hey, it's still a good amount of weight.
3 plates, bro.
Hey, three plates is 3 plates. That's 3 plates plus 10s on each side too.
Back would give out.
Dude, I'm staring at myself in the mirror, no music on, no pre-workout. I don't take any of that stuff. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, don't be a beep. I'm like, yo, you effing got this or what? Like, it's you, man. Like, let's freaking go. And I'm talking myself up because I got to tell my mind to tell my muscles that you got to freaking do this. If I'm not getting psyched up, I'm not lifting it up. I'm falling to the ground.
In front of everyone.
In front of everybody. So, like,
and I'm not falling on the ground today. So let's go. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. I love it. All right, guys. Well, let's transition here. We got to save this, other pieces of this story. We're going to talk more about this later because I think we all get fired up about it. It's important for everybody to talk about it too. Next here, we got a deal submission from one of our own local real estate investors. I'm excited about it. He's actually one of my coaching students. Can't love this guy enough. He brings all the energy, all the passion, determination that you need to overcome. This deal is a perfect example of that. So let's bring him on. We got Mr. Dylan Miracle. What's up, Dylan?
What's going on, guys? That was a hell of an introduction. I hope I live up to that. Appreciate it.
Hey, if you don't bring the fire, we're going to put you straight into push-ups, some burpees, make sure that you're ready to go. But
yeah, I already hit some before I hopped on, so let's go.
You promised that you would, so I'm glad. Well, dude, I'm stoked to have you here. This deal right here that you submitted is so good because I think it's a great example of perseverance. It's a great example of new skills you had to develop real time. These are skills you didn't have already. These are obstacles and hurdles and problems you were facing that you hadn't before. And you picked up the phone rather than just staring them in the face and fumbling over them and messing up. You called me and we worked through them together. You applied it right away and got results. And so I love this story. Let me go ahead and bring it up here for everybody. So check this out, guys. So this is a wholesale deal that came from cold calling. There were 2 deals, not one, 2 deals in Chowchilla, California that came from this one seller. The first deal had a purchase price of $140,000. The sales price was sold to a buyer for $172,000 for a total profit of $32,000. The next deal was a purchase price of $65,000. This was also wholesaled for a sales price of $95,000 for a total of $40,000. I did the numbers wrong. It was 105. Am I right? Did I do the math wrong?
Yeah, it was 105. It was 105.
All right, I messed it up. My fault. I was like, there's a 3 between there, but no, it was for 105. My mistake, for a total profit of $40,000. So $72,000 of profit created out of these 2 deals. And the crazy part about this, I'll let you tell the whole story. It took you 2 years of follow-up. Like, this wasn't a deal that happened overnight. This was a deal that was seemingly a deal from the beginning. You had to pursue it. You had to overcome these obstacles, and you had some surprises at the end that made it real tricky. So, dude, let's let you take it away here. Let's let you tell the whole story, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first off, I want to just say thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate being around you guys all the time. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no. So, I mean, I started cold calling, getting active in the space. Jason was actually my first ever like investor meeting or whatever. He gave me like 30 minutes of his time, and just started trying to take action from there. But it took me a really long time to actually make anything happen. So I just started cold calling. I used some scripts that I had gotten from Jason and some other people, and then just started cold calling, not really knowing what I was doing, and just so happened to stumble on people that gave me like the 3 magic words of saying, like, I want to sell. So I just made a video about this today, but I didn't really understand, the whole what a cold lead and a warm lead was. If you just had a conversation with me, you were a lead. So I just followed up with you. So given that I was just talking to a lot of people, I came across people that were interested in this lady in particular. The issue is that the mom had been, she owned quite a few properties. She used to be a real estate broker. And I've noticed with my experience that most of the time when you deal with a real estate broker that's an owner of real estate, they typically are the hardest ones to negotiate with. So these properties they said they wanted to sell. So we booked the appointment. That's one thing that I have found that is one of my specialties, is I can kind of build rapport over the phone and get people to get to the table. But I had no idea how to negotiate price or anything like that. That's something that I still am actively trying to work on. So anyways, we get to the table, we walk the properties. They're exactly what we're looking for in terms of distress. They fit the criteria, but we initially offered like 80 grand or so. This is about a year ago. About after 6 months of follow-up consistently and talking to her, hey, we're still interested, blah, blah, blah. Finally convinced her to get an appointment. So we offered, and then we came up even 10, 15 grand, all the way up to about 115 at the time. This is a year ago, and it ended up just not working. It was too low for them at the time. So I just kind of, what I've learned from all of you guys via your content, via conversations, is that the money is really made in the follow-up. So I've gotten so many FUs over the phone that I don't really care if, I get another one. So I just continue to follow up. I'm like, hey, I know our price, we're, a little far apart, but you guys are, change your mind. I'm still here. Follow up again, 3 months, follow up again, 3 months. And so I'd even shoot them text, hey, Merry Christmas or whatever. And lo and behold, I was actually at lunch with you, Dean, back in like November. And I got a phone call, and because I'd been following up, there was a situation where the mom had actually passed away. But I had built so much rapport with this family that I was the person that they thought of. Like when they wanted to sell, I was their guy. And it wasn't because I was pestering them. I wasn't saying like, you need to sell. I was building a relationship with them. And so because of that, I was their guy. So I was like, okay, well, I'm busy. I'm going to be out of town this weekend. I'm back in town next week. And they're like, whenever, like we're ready. So I was like, okay, as far as the selling process, and again, I picked this up over time. As far as the selling process, you guys looking to sell next month, couple months, like, where are you guys at? I'm like, as soon as possible. So immediately I was like, all right, we're booking this appointment. We're making it happen. We walked the properties, already seen them before, but just to kind of get face again. So getting them again to the table, because I've learned that getting them to the table, you're giving yourself a little bit more chances to actually buy the deal and build more rapport. So yeah, we walked them, and they were actually worse than what we had seen them before somehow. And they were the gnarliest ones I've ever seen. So yeah, but I mean, those are kind of the ones where we're able to kind of provide solutions. We were happy to help. The problem was, though, is that when it came down to negotiating, I was their guy. They wanted to do business with me. The problem is we were $40,000 less than what we initially offered because it's a different market. So there's obviously a big gut check when you're dealing with a seller that you've now built a relationship with, and you hit them with $40,000 less than what your offer was before. So anyways, I kind of said, like, this is where I almost laughed because I was like, I just feel stupid saying it, but I was like, this is where we're at. We're at 60,000. And so she's like, yeah, no way that's going to work. The land, someone had just bought in the land next door for 85. And I was like, yeah. So that's a really good point. And so then I would hop off the phone and I would talk to you, Dean, and you kind of gave me some tools to kind of talk to her about that. And then I hopped back on the phone with her and I was like, yeah, but the issue with that is that's vacant land. We're talking, we got to do demo. If there was a property on that land, it would have sold probably for less, but given that all you are is building, this is basically a new build given the condition. So that's why we're kind of coming down. You got to understand it's a lot of work. And she's like, yeah, no, we can't be anywhere but here. And I was like, okay. So I went back to you, and I wasn't playing the bad guy. I was using kind of a third party negotiator, right? And so I was like, hey, this is where they're at. And I just kind of left silence. That's the biggest thing I learned with this whole thing is I used to just try to fill the silence because I would get and I've noticed that if silence isn't not just in sales, but just in life, like if you're just silent in a conversation, people rush to fill the silence. And so, especially in sales, it's wildly useful because people are going to kind of fill the silence because they feel, I guess, uncomfortable. So I set our number. I said, this is where we got to be. I went at bat for you. I did the best I could, but this is where we're at. We can come up on this deal, but that's it. And then I just let it sit. And it was probably like a long 10, 15-second pause. And I was like tripping. My heart was fluttering, but I just sat there. And she was like, we'll take it. And so that's kind of how it went. But I kind of thought the deal was done. I didn't really know how it worked after that. And then it kind of took a lot of, I had to deal with tenants and do cash for keys, and delivering that conversation was really tough. I'm kind of naturally like an empathetic guy. So it was a little tough for me to have that conversation. But I literally squatted down in the level. The house didn't smell the greatest, but I was in there. I was talking to the tenants on their level, and I was like, listen, this is the situation. We're on a team. As long as you guys work with me, I'm working with you. I want this to be as smooth as possible. And so it ended up working out. At least I thought. And so one of the tenants moved out, and then I was going back to the other one and getting ready to deliver cash for keys per the agreement. And we get to the property, and they're still moving out. So we're like, okay, we're just going to go check the back house, considering, give you guys some time. We just want to make sure everything's good. Some guys moving out, totally fine. And then we kind of hear some rummaging in a shed. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, Dad, I think, because I worked this with my dad, and I was like, I think there's someone in the shed. And he's like, no, you're tripping. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I hear someone in there. And so we kind of shout at them, and they just come out guns blazing. Like, they are pissed. Like, they've been living there for 3 years. I've never seen these people. We're not even trying to have a conversation. Like, who the hell are you? So given we're in California and stuff, there's a lot of stipulations and stuff. So the cops came, and they're like, yeah, they've been living here for 3 years. I'm like, they're not on lease. We don't know about them. They're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. So you guys can do cash for keys. So we offered them $500, and immediately they were our best friends. So it ended up working out. We were able to deliver the property.
Best $500 you've ever spent right there, my friend. Let me tell you something. You got off cheap, dude. That was the best $500 you could have ever spent in your life.
Yeah. So it ended up working out. Definitely the whole time. I mean, it was just nerve-wracking up to the contract getting signed, the conversation and stuff. But it was one hell of an experience for sure.
Yeah. So what's crazy about this, guys, obviously we worked through this with you, Dylan, and helped kind of overcome these things and navigate everything. So I know more context and background, but guys, you got to go check out Dillionaire321 on Instagram and check out some of his reels on some of these stories.
Like, that house was gnarly.
When I tell you, or when he told you that he had to negotiate cash for keys and squat down to the level of one of the tenants, I saw the videos, and like, this was like animal feces soaked carpet. Okay. To give you some perspective, this was like one room had like 40 oxygen tanks because one of the people were like having to live with oxygen. Right. And they're in really bad health. And I heard stories from you of like rats hanging from the drape, the curtains on the windows.
Yeah, they were just
Tarzan. I love that one. Tarzan swinging from the curtain drapes, and by the way, guys, not only did Dylan negotiate the cash for keys, which was a first time ever experience, and had to overcome the fear and anxiety of going to someone and saying like, hey, I need to negotiate this with you. I need to offer you this, getting the pushback and rejection that you would expect, and having to come to the table with reasons why this, that, and the other needed to happen, and taking command and control of that situation like a pro, and overcoming those obstacles from the tenant, because guess what? This deal was not getting done without those problems getting solved. And to make the story more interesting, the night before closing, when you told the end of that story, there were these new tenants that were living in a shed in the back of the property, next to the second unit. And the night before closing presented a new problem. You had to negotiate cash for keys. You had the sheriffs out there. You had to go get paperwork at the office and come back. Like, you had to overcome some serious things at 8 p.m. the night before closing. And if it wasn't fixed, the deal wasn't getting closed. Right.
Yep.
So that's some serious problem solving. That's going the extra mile. That's, leaning on your network of people on how to solve these problems. So, dude, what an incredible story. What do you feel like is the biggest takeaway for you? Whether it's the confidence or whether it was skills, like what's your biggest takeaway from doing this deal?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know if I have one in particular. I think I have a few. I think especially with like negotiating with people, guys, like the situations that we deal with and for sellers and things like that, sometimes they handle properties not in the way that we would handle properties, but because of that, I think it's easy to cast judgment, but I think putting ourselves in their shoes and really trying to be empathetic and leaning in with empathy is going to be really important, whether you're dealing with sellers or you're dealing with tenants. Especially with tenants, I think that you have to be empathetic, but firm, right? In addressing them and really treating them like people. I think sometimes that's forgotten along the way. And that's why I think wholesaling and fix and flipping can get a bad rap sometimes, because people look at the money only. Obviously not you guys, but that's something that I've learned with throughout this process. Additionally, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier, like I don't want to ask for less problems anymore. I'm thankful that these deals had all the fires that needed to be put out, because that's going to make me a better investor and me a better problem solver. And the only way that I'm going to be able to attract more money is if I can solve bigger and harder problems, right? And so for me, I'm incredibly grateful. And I think this situation and just trying to really grind and hustle and get deals has just, for me, learned that the more I'm fearful, the more I should lean into that, because that means that I'm in a position where I can grow, and I can get. So that's the biggest thing. I think I've learned, and with solving more problems, I think the confidence comes along with it. And then you have deal stories to kind of now talk to. So when you're talking to sellers, you can now relate to them directly and how you solved problems like this previously and how you can provide solutions. And it doesn't matter their situation. And now you can say, I've seen problems way worse than this. Like I'm your guy. I can help you. And this is why I can help you, because of X, Y, and Z. So those are the things I think I've learned the most. And the silencing within conversations, I think, is big.
One of the things, Dylan, that you said, this was kind of early on in the story that I picked up on that I thought was key. And all the stuff, especially at the end, those are the things that make the story really unique. It's cool to share on social media, the cash for keys, the crazy looking house, and all of that is very valuable experience. But early on, you said you basically had built the rapport with the seller to a level where she only really wanted to work with you. You know what I mean? And that's what's important with, I think if there's a takeaway for people, that's such a huge nugget to take away. Like the best deals that I have ever gotten, not just the ones that make the most money, but that also make me feel good, are usually the ones where you have such a strong connection with the seller that regardless of Dean had called or I had called or somebody else had called this woman, it's very unlikely right? That they were going to want to work with us after you had been following up and talking to her for 2 years. You know what I mean? And so then it was just a matter of, can you actually solve a problem? I like and trust Dylan enough. Now, does Dylan have the skill? Yeah. So I want to give Dylan the opportunity. Now, can Dylan actually solve the problem? But you don't even get the opportunity to solve the problem if you don't have the rapport level to the place that you got it, man. And so I think that is such a huge key and a big learning lesson for a lot of people that are out there, because most people are never following up with somebody for 2 years, let alone, like you said, leaning with empathy and like getting to a space where the seller really feels like you care about helping them out. And that's a big thing that needs to happen in order to find success in this business.
Well, and Dylan, talk about how long you've been doing this, and then you kind of fell off for a little bit, then you committed and you decided to go all in, bro. Because I mean, you've been talking to all three of us for like 3-4 years, like since you were in college for a while.
Yeah. So I started when I was 19. Didn't want to, kind of fell into real estate. My dad was in it for a long time, but being a stubborn kid that I was, I didn't want anything to do with him. I wanted to do my own legacy. And then I had an internship, COVID happened, and then I was like, hey, kind of came up on the doorstep and was like, can I work for you? And I just started filing and stuff, and then just started having conversations with you guys. And opened my eyes up to a whole new level. And coming from a sports background, I just kind of fell in love with investing. So, but I honestly, the first year was me just building the skills and I guess ability to have conversations on the phone, dealing with the rejection. And literally everyone that would answer the phone for me was a lead at that time. So I was wasting a bunch of time just having a lot of meaningless conversations. However, they weren't meaningless because it allowed me to get comfortable on the phone. So, I mean, yeah, but I was inconsistent. And so I wrestled in college, and I had like a part-time job. I was cold calling, I was doing school, and kind of just, would go by the wayside and then pick it back up and go by the wayside. And then I haven't really been committed until really, I graduated. I did a commercial real estate job for a little bit. Wasn't the right environment for me personally. And just really started diving deep into wholesaling again and investing in July. So I'd say in terms of like me actively like being in it and from the start, I mean, it's been like 3 years that kind of for me to actually see this kind of materialize. But the one thing that I learned through sports is that you kind of got to do the first couple of years just to get your licks in, to build the confidence that you can play in this game. And so if you can weather the storm, then you're ready to go. And like you guys were talking about earlier, I mean, you really have to believe that you're successful before the success actually comes. Like the success is a lagging measure of the work that you put in. And as long as you can put the work in consistently over time, it's like, how are you not going to succeed? So that's something that's kind of helped me over time, I guess.
Great insight.
Hell yeah,
that's
bro.
awesome, dude. Yeah,
Great
dude.
insight.
That's
bro.
awesome. I will personally say, because I remember talking to you when you were coming around, and I've known your dad for a while, and I think your dad is awesome. And I can remember when you started coming to the meetups, and nobody is happier than I am. I think all of us, man, that like you actually stuck with this as long as you did, and you more than deserve this outcome, dude. And I know that like one of your biggest strengths is that you figured that out this at the age that you're at right now, dude. Like I think all of us, if we could go back to being 21 or 22, dude, and like doing the types of deals that you're doing right now, by the time you're freaking my age, well, I was 33 when I started, you're 10 years deep in the game, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that's longer than I've even been in business, man. So now it's just keeping your head on screwed straight. All of these like habits and these skill sets that you develop to get here. Don't get shiny object syndrome. Don't get caught up in too fast, too soon, right? Just stay really disciplined. Like keep your head down for the next 10 years, dude. And you're going to do some really amazing things, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Well, shout out to your dad too, bro. What an amazing fucking dad. Shout out Bo Miracle.
Yeah, he's a real deal, man. I'm in the office right now. And this used to be my bedroom. So it's he's kind of talking a lot about perseverance, I'd say. Good guy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, think about all the experience that Dylan got at this age, like just in this one deal, 2 deals, the complexities that came together, like last minute surprises that'll make your heart jump out of your chest when you haven't experienced them before. Like there's a lot of maturing that happens just from this one transaction of these 2 deals. So huge shout out to you, man. You had to overcome a lot. I think we all 3 of us, knowing you personally, know that you've got the ingredients, man. I've been saying that lately. Like you've got the ingredients, which is the hustle, the determination, the curiosity, and the taking action part. And you're learning from mistakes, and you're learning from advice that other people are giving you. And with those ingredients, like, there's no reason why you won't be successful. It's just a matter of when, right? It's just a matter of when. And everybody's going to have a different journey of how long it takes. But like, you've got the ingredients, and we all love being around you because you bring that energy, and it fuels us. It excites us. And for anybody listening who's just getting started, or who's been, working at it for a while, but they're not having the success that they want. If you want to attract other people that are successful, you gotta bring value, but more importantly, right? Because some of the value might just be your energy. You might not have a deal. We might not be doing any sort of transactions. The value might actually be you doing what we tell you to do. When you ask us questions and we tell you, here's the answer, if you don't take action on it, that doesn't feel good, right? If you go actually do the thing and it helps you get closer to your result, people want to keep pouring into that, right? Mm-hmm. We want to help people. And I think you're a testament to that, Dylan. I know all three of us at different points in time have given you advice, and I've seen firsthand, like, you take action on it, you learn from it. And I just want to pour as much as I can back into that, because like, it's being reciprocated, right? If things aren't being reciprocated, then there's not really a give and take on that relationship. So I think that's a key point for everybody listening.
One thing I want to kind of add on that real quick. I mean, I think when I first met with Jason, I wasn't ready for a lot of the things that he told me. It was like a really big umbrella, but I was just at such a low, I didn't even know what like escrow meant, you know what I mean? So I remember he's at such a high level. And what I learned, and I've only recently learned this, but it's kind of the culmination of a lot of different conversations and a lot of books that I've read and a lot of podcasts I've exposed myself to, that now I'm able to have conversations and be in better rooms, because you have to be, not only do you just have to seek other people, but you have to become the person of the people you're trying to hang out with. Otherwise, you are going to be that negative energy, because you don't know how to become the kind of person that you're trying to hang out with. And I only recently realized that, because I'm trying to coach wrestlers, young wrestlers now, and the skill gap between us is so large that I don't even know where they're at, and I don't even know what they don't know. So to me, what's simple, trying to put it in their brains is very complex. And so, that's made me realize that you have to take massive action to expose yourself to a ton of new problems, so that the conversations that you can have with the people that you want to be around are more relevant, and that you, I guess, pick up skills along the way, so that when you have these conversations, you can actually get value out of them. Because the value that I got out of that first conversation with Jason was just the fact that I got to talk to Jason. It was none of the conversation outside of a few nuggets that were pragmatic to me in that moment, because I had no idea what the hell he was talking about, because I had no idea of nothing. And so that's something that I've kind of learned this time, is like, you have to take action, and closing the distance between what people tell you and the action that you take after that. It's one thing.
I love how you said, dude, I love how you said right now, and this is something where people that are in ruts, if you're struggling with something, this is something that can really help you break out. And just go help somebody else and see how you correlated help. It wasn't even real estate, dude. Like, you correlated helping, coaching other people in an area that you had expertise in, and it forced you to shift your perspective in a way where you could say, okay, I'm the expert now. I'm transferring this to somebody else. And it makes you kind of rethink, where you're at when you're talking to somebody that you're trying to get real estate stuff from, right? So I think learning how to provide value to others, dude, is always going to help. And if you're stuck in a rut, just help somebody else, just to get that momentum and your energy up to a space. And then eventually that will spill over into other areas, man.
For sure.
100%. As we're a little bit over time, so we're going to wrap this up, bro. Thank you so much for coming on, Dylan. Yeah, great job on taking a ton of action, bro. Thank you guys so much for watching Deal Champs. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you are on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go give us a 5-star review. Don't forget to go follow us on Instagram at StratDaddy, at Jason Pritchard, at Dean Rogers Real Estate, and most importantly, Dylan Miracle, Dillionaire 321. And do you got that link for people to submit their deals?
We don't have a sexy link. We got a Google Forms link, which is all a bunch of characters and letters. I can spin up a good link at a later date. But for now, guys, if you got deals, we want to highlight you on the podcast. We will put in all of the chat threads that this video is at, the link. So make sure you go to the link, submit your deal. We'd love to highlight you on here. Anything else before we go?
No, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
See you on
And
the next
come to our
one.
meetup next Thursday.
Yes.
Come to our meetup next Thursday. Down in
There we go. February 23rd in Visalia, the next Central California Real Estate Investing Group meetup. If you're listening to this, make sure to go.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.